Hi everyone, John Marshall, the DrillMaster, wanted to go over the Saber today. So, in order to wear the Saber properly, you need a frog. It's a throg, Throg, but it's commonly called a frog, Frog. So this is the first sword I'll go over is the Army Officer's Saber. A saber has a curve to it, just a slight curve. So to wear this properly, you're going to, this is the, I'll unhook this here. This is the frog, and then this is the saber chain. They're both sold separately. So what you can do is unhook this completely. If you need to, you can take this off, take this tab off, hook it over your belt, and then push the metal piece back through the eye here. Then you take your clip on the top part of the saber, hook it onto that metal piece, and then this hook here is for the top ring. And this is how the saber is worn on your side. So it looks like this. Now, this might seem counterintuitive to you to have the saber angled forward like this with the handle way back here. So what you do when you go to draw your saber is you'll bring your hand, let me angle this down just a bit more. There we go. So what you're going to do, you stand at attention like this. The frog is centered on your side. You stand at attention, and on the command officers draw, then you bring that saber, you turn it around. I'll leave it like that. This is then officers draw, come over, pull up, and you want your forearm to be horizontal across on that draw command, and then you come out with the blade completely on the command sabers. Officers draw, sabers. So the saber is worn just like this, with the knuckle bow, the grip facing to the rear, and the sword angled forward. All right, so you're not going to use a saber without the scabbard. That's an Army tradition, an Army standard. For us in the Air Force, it's for active duty, guard, and reserve. We don't use that at all. Now, the Air Force Honor Guard has a version of this saber for the officers, and then there's also a version of the Army sword, the NCO, the Army NCO sword in silver for the enlisted as well. And then the Space Force is coming out with their own sword, which really looks pretty awesome. If you haven't seen it on my social media, go ahead and check that out. And I'll try and make an article about the new sword. Anyway, for the this very old, very beat up, but for the Academy sword, you're probably going to use this. Let me finish. For the Army Officer Sword, Air Force Junior ROTC, yeah, you can use it. It's fine, especially with competitive teams. The commander needs to be armed, and if you're not going to be armed with a rifle, then the saber is good. You can also use this as well. So this is the Academy Sword. The Academy Sword has this. It's a T-handle. Double-edged sword, and then it has this little tine here that sticks in the frog, and I'll show you how that works. So there's a shield on the Academy sword on only one side of the grip at the T handle here, and that's always on the outside of the saber. The shield always faces out. It always is with the tine here, and it always faces away from you. to the left when it's in the scabbard, and when you draw it, it always faces to the right. So you hold it then like this. And I'll get to that in just a sec. All right, so this is the frog. I've inserted the scabbard just a bit here. So what you do is insert it gently but firmly into this gap back here and behind this strap. You can see there, it goes right into that. So you insert it into there, and it's a little tough actually, especially with a frog that hasn't been used all that much, which mine hasn't. All right, so then you push that through the back, all the way at the back, and then this tine goes, this is quite close actually. Let me pause, I need to get a screwdriver, just real quick. All right, so what I'm going to do here, this is just a little bit tight. So what I'm going to do is insert the screwdriver and bend it up just a hair, not much at all. All right, so what I have here is the strap, and I'm trying to get the tine over that strap. Boy, I don't want to bend this much more at all. There. All right, so I didn't have to bend it too much, but here, what you can see here is the tine fits over this little strap here, and then you push that all the way up, and then this is how this is worn. Worn at the side, just like the Saber, just like this. Now, there's also the, you'll see this at the Air Force Academy, that shoulder strap, and the shoulder strap ends, it doesn't have the belt loop on it, but it ends with a similar piece just like this at the end, and looks just the same like this. So that's how you would wear it if you have that shoulder strap as well. But this can be worn on the belt, and then you would draw in the same way. So let me explain the Air Force and swords. The Air Force doesn't use swords at all, except the Air Force Honor Guard. The Air Force Honor Guard also has the Academy sword. The Academy sword, and also base Honor Guards. The Academy sword is used by the base Honor Guards for active duty Guard and Reserve, and at the Air Force Honor Guard level. It's used for the cordon, and it's only the sword cordon, which is a max of 8 members, and that's including the commander. It's not a usual cordon that you would find that with the starting at 11 and ending at 21 members and armed with rifles, and it's totally different. It's only for specific use indoors or just outside of a chapel. The chapel use all the time, that's quite common, but it's also used as at a graduation, let's say, Community College of the Air Force type of thing. It might be used for that. That's a little generic there, but award ceremonies, yearly awards for the wing, something like that, would be more appropriate, I think, and rather than just, that was off the top of my head, CCAF. So that probably wouldn't work. But as far as cadets are concerned, JROTC and ROTC, then both Air Force and Space Force, you can use this, not a problem. It's not a usual sword to use in a formation, however. It's only for specific use for the cordon. Any other time, it's really not used at all. So if the base honor guards aren't authorized the officer's saber or the NCO sword, and then junior ROTCs don't have that access either, the Air Force or Space Force versions, what you can do though is then get the officer's saber if you really want to, then and they're a few $100, which is unfortunate. They're fairly expensive, not as expensive as some of the others out there, but you can get pretty decent ones. What you don't want to do, let me pause again, I'll show you something that you don't want to do. All right, now I know of several Air Force Junior ROTCs. Don't know of any others, but this is a Confederate States of America sword. Obviously it's a replica. I wouldn't have a. I'm not a sword enthusiast, so I wouldn't use them. And this is also a stuck, another replica, but it's an old cavalry sword as well. It's cavalry saber, actually. And so these are, they're big, they're bulky, and not as professional looking, I would say. And they're not authorized as well. You know, they're cheap. They're really inexpensive. I got those years ago just to see what instructors were buying, and it's not a good purchase. Not really at all. The Academy sword, I understand it's expensive. The Army Officer Saber, I also understand it's expensive. And even when we get to the Marine Corps NCO sword, the Navy officer's sword as well. This is this is the Navy officer sword. What I don't have is the rigging for the Navy officer sword. I know that it goes on the inside of the blouse. Then there's two. I think there's two small slits that the leather straps come through and wrap around. It's also worn with the handle to the rear. I'm not exactly sure. Not exactly sure if Navy JROTC has authorized the officer's sword or not, but then the NCO sword is also it's kind of big and bulky. I forget the name of it just off the top of my head now, but it's a cutlass. That's it. The cutlass. That's not a pretty sword for ceremonial use. It's okay, but I much prefer the officer's sword. Definitely, it's more like the Army officer's saber. And then I also have somewhere, and I'll look, the Marine Corps NCO sword. So stand by. Well, since I'm teaching next week, the Marine Corps NCO sword is buried in my training casket. So this is the frog for one of them. There's also a white one for the NCO sword. The Marine Corps NCO sword is authorized for Marine Corps JROTC. You can use it no problem. You can't use the officer's sword, and it would fit in similar to this, just the Academy sword. So it would fit in through here like that. You can see there's a little split there, and and it's worn on the left. Same purpose or same technique that you would use to draw. Although for this sword, for the Marine Corps NCO sword, there is no twist. It's just bring the hand to grab the scabbard and pull it back so that you can come over with your right and pull out, and you're good to go. And that's all of my swords that I have, and that's the training that I wanted to offer today. So mounting your sword in your frog and then wearing it as well. And I hope that that covers it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thank you.